minute late. Let's get cracking. Okay. The best route out of the sea cave. All of them? There are one or more chunks in each line. Chunks contain 0 or more other chunks. Adjacent chunks are not separated by any delimiter. If one chunk stops, the next chunk can immediately start. So chunks use braces. Okay. Alright, so basically we're going to do some bracket counting shenanigans. Okay. Okay, so I guess this is our example. Some of the lines aren't corrupted, just incomplete. What does that mean? Okay. So there's some concept of okay. So in each corrupted line, okay, what's the total syntax error score? So I'm not sure if I understand what incomplete means. Some lines are incomplete, but others are corrupted. Aren't corrupted, but just incomplete. So like, for example, I guess this is, anyway, whatever. I think that I have enough to get started, even though this is sort of feeling slightly annoying, to be honest, but could be interesting. Let's see what we can do. Right, so we'll just say, basically, ultimately we want to get a sum. So we'll say, like, let sum equal 0. Then we want to say input dot for each line. I guess validate line, and we'll say maybe let result equals validate line, and then if result.valid, and then else not valid. Sort of interesting. Var date, not really sure what that is. Maybe we'll call this, oh, they're saying, did you mean var date? No. Okay. And I guess we'll say validation result. Maybe we'll say type validation result equals valid Boolean. I kind of want to say something like valid true or valid false, and I guess first invalid character is going to be is that valid TypeScript is the question. I don't know. Maybe. What's the problem? Aha, I think it is not valid. So here we'll say, or I think it is valid, because here we're just getting some warnings. Why are we still getting output about var date? Oh yeah, this is going to be validate line. All right, great. So we're always saying that it's valid. And I guess here we'll say if result dot, I don't know, we'll say sum plus equals score for result dot first invalid character, and then that'll be a really simple function. Right, this is where this comes in. So we'll say if character return 3, else if character is this, return 57. Return 1197. These numbers feel pretty random, but perhaps there's some significance there. Function likes ending return statement or return type does not include undefined. I thought this was exhaustive. Is that not exhaustive enough for you? I mean, I guess I'll say else, throw new error, no bueno. Great. What's the problem here? Oh, I see. So this is always returning valid true. Interesting. What if it was started returning invalid false with first invalid character? Right. All right, so now, great, but we still have the problem of not actually doing the thing we're supposed to do. So let's figure out how to do it. So basically, we want to say let chars equals line dot split, and if we think about it, we want to, like, what are the rules here? Like, at any given point, like, there's some kind of stack of nesting stuff, and I guess incomplete could mean that there is nothing, maybe it isn't fully closed, like it could be like this, and maybe that's incomplete. But as long as it's not like that would be invalid, right? So so I think we could do something pretty straightforward here and just say like so like in the end, let's say return valid true, right? And then in between, we'll say for let I equals 0, I less than chars.length, I plus plus, and as we kind of proceed through it, the next character is allowed to be any opening character, or it should close the previous one, right? Because if you have like, I guess one other question I have is like, can you do multiple chunks next to each other? Oh, adjacent chunks are not separated by any delimiter. One or more chunks in each line. Okay, so there could be multiple chunks in the line. So what does that mean? That means that, anyway, whatever. Let's not take a shortcut. Let's figure out how to actually like represent this. So like, what is a data structure that makes sense to represent something like this? I mean, if it's code, with code we usually use an abstract syntax tree, and so it's some kind of tree that has children, where it's like a root node with an array of children, and each child can have its own children. It's like probably want something like that, right? So we could have like the root, which has some number of chunks that are its children, and I mean, maybe that's where we'll start. It's just like, there, we want to, maybe we'll call this tokens. It's like, think of it like as a lexer. It's like, this is our, lexing step, and then we want to do our parsing step, sort of being unnecessarily fancy by using fancy words, but so maybe we'll say something like let AST equals chunks, and then right, so then we'll say let token equals chars I, and what do we want to do next? We can say, like ultimately I think I want some kind of like nested thing, right, where it's going to be within this, it'll be, chunks, etc. Probably that'll be helpful in part 2. I don't think we quite need it for part 1, but I'm not actually sure how else to do it for part 1 other than to try to build up this tree, right? And so so I guess let's say something like interesting. I think we're gonna probably have to do something recursive here because there's nesting involved, so that feels kind of appropriate. Right, so maybe something like next chunk. Right, so it'll be like type chunk is, how about type AST is chunks. Really, I guess this is chunk. A chunk is a thing that has chunks. Can we do that in TypeScript? Have like a self-referencing type? Let's find out. Can I find name chars? Oh, tokens. Okay, I think we can. Right, so we'll say and then what? Maybe populate, or I don't know, add or parse chunks tokens into AST, something like this. Right, so we'll say parse chunks equals tokens is an array of strings, and AST is a chunk. And it doesn't need to return anything. I think it can mutate that thing, so that's fine. Right, and so we'll say I guess another thing we might want here is like a position. So we're gonna kind of be scanning from left to right. So we'll start at 0, and we'll just say let token equals tokens position, and then we'll say if, you ready for it? I think this is where it's going to get interesting. Let next token equals tokens pos plus 1, and maybe we'll say like if pair token next token. I'm not sure the right word for this. Maybe empty pair. Oh, and the other interesting thing here is that at some point we're going to have to figure out what to do with empty ones. And I guess let's figure out what to do with incomplete ones as well. Interesting. Well, we'll get there. So empty pair, I'm thinking empty pair equals, I guess, A string, B string, Boolean, if A equals and B equals, return true, else if A equals return true, return true, fix the typo, return true, else something like this. So like if we have a self-closing pair, then what? Then we can stop recursing, I guess. We might need to return the new position, right? So we can say like ast dot chunks dot push oh, and this is actually interesting. So each one, I guess, should have maybe opening. Hold on. So where's the type? So we'll say opening brace is going to be right. So like this is another thing I think we'll need to keep track of. So we'll say God. I think that we should give this a type now. So we'll say like type opening brace equals this. Right, and then here we can say this is in fact an opening brace, and I guess this can be closing brace. Well, no. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Those are just going to be strings. That's fine. But then here, this I think really does need to be an opening brace, though. Right? So oh, interesting. So I think that here, one other interesting thing, we'll say hold on, let's figure out how to format this. So root true, and then chunks chunk, right? Does this actually work? I mean, I guess like the simpler thing here is to say like type ast is chunks chunk, and then forget that. Okay. Right, so chunk can be recursive, but ast doesn't need to be recursive. So we'll come here and say that this is actually ast. Which I guess is a problem because now this expects a anyway, I'm probably overcomplicating this like so severely, but I feel like this is like heading in the right direction. Just need to kind of keep exploring. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll say chunk or ast. Like either way, don't care. The important thing is that it has chunks, and so now we're good, right? And so if we have an empty pair, then we want to push chunks.push. Like, yeah, the whole reason I did that is that I want to push a chunk, and I want to say is opening brace of token and chunks of empty array. There's no chunks. It's empty. It's an empty pair. Now this is actually interesting. So I think here we can say as opening brace because we have effectively validated it in this method. It's not like the most ironclad of type safety, but I think it's good enough for advent of code. Right, so if basically if it's not an empty pair, then fine. And then I think if we so there's two more scenarios. We'll say else if both opening braces, token and next token, keep recursing, something like this. Else if invalid closing braces throw error, I guess, maybe. And else probably do nothing. Are we here? Probably throw an error here. So throw new error, not expected. Something like this. Throw syntax error, maybe. Somehow we need to make a note of that. But I think we're going to use functions. I think these are like the scenarios. So let's try to define those. We'll say const both opening braces equals a string, b string, boolean. Right, so we can say const is ab dot every token is opening brace token. Return string token string boolean return token equal, I guess maybe index of token, or I don't know, includes token, sure, whatever. Right, so if they're both opening braces, then we want to keep recursing. And we're missing some parentheses, that's fine. Incredible that it is able to parse that at all. So const invalid closing braces, a string, b string, and boolean. Right, so I think here we'll say return is opening brace A and is closing brace B, and then and not is empty pair, or I guess just empty pair, A, B. Okay. Right, so here we go. So if, in this case, we want to keep recursing. In this case, we're kind of done, and we can pop out of this and go back up to the parent stack and keep looking for closing braces, I guess. Yeah, this is already feeling probably way overcomplicated, and I'm not sure how to debug, like, to what extent I'm heading in the right direction. Right, so we've got, I don't know, a bunch of crap. So we haven't done any recursing yet, so that's what we got to figure out how to do next. So I think that we need to advance the position. So like that's the other thing here is like, maybe here we'll say return pos plus 2. Right, so yeah, I think that we don't really care about the return value at this level. So maybe we'll do something like this. Try catch. We'll say if, or hold on a sec. So let's, I don't remember how to do this. JavaScript custom error. This is a thing. I wanted to find a custom error real quick. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, great. So we'll say my syntax error extends error, and I think that's good enough for me. Right, so we'll say now catch E, we'll say if E instance of my syntax error, console log got a syntax error, else throw E, right? See if that much works, but I mean in this case I think we want to say, this is where we have our issue, so we'll say return valid false, first invalid character, E dot first invalid, or invalid character. Right, like that'd be great. Right, does that work? Not really, because it says that doesn't exist. So no worries, let's just add that. Right, so we'll say, what do I call it? Invalid character. And then constructor, what did this look like? Yeah. Invalid character string, this dot invalid character equals invalid character, and okay. Sure. So how close is this? I think I want to say dot dot dot. See if that helps. Type string is not assignable to type. Ooh, yes, this is actually not string. This is opening brace. Or sorry, that should actually be closing brace, of course. And that doesn't exist, so let's define that. Type closing brace equals and this can be closing brace. Very cool. So type string is unassignable to type closing. Right. I feel like I'm writing a lot of code that may or may not actually go anywhere, but that's okay. This should also be closing brace. And then how close are we? Super must be called before Xing this. Okay. Swap the order there. Params. A spreader must either have a tuple type or pass to a rest parameter. And then similarly, implicitly has an any type. Let me find a TypeScript example just to see if there's a better way I should be doing this. I think that, I mean, I don't really want to deal with the params if I don't have to, so that works for me. Okay, great. All right, so I'm not actually using my syntax error yet, but I think that we're close, right? So now here, yeah, we'll say throw new my syntax error foo, which is not a valid parameter there. So I guess here we'll say next token, right? And as closing brace, you know. But yeah, I think that this effectively does validate it. All right, and so here is where it gets tricky. So here we need to actually recurse. So what do we know at this point? We know that we have reached kind of the center of the chunk, and we're at a point where we have an opening. The current token we're looking at, we're scanning from left to right. The current token is opening, and the next one is closing, and it's totally valid. So we're gonna, or sorry, no, the current token is opening, and the next token is also opening, right? And so our current chunk is now, in this case, we want to just advance by one, right? We want to say, we're going to do something along the lines of parse chunks tokens. And okay, yes. Right, so we're going to say let new pause equals this, something like that. We'll say let, okay, here we go. Let children, child chunk equals opening brace token, and chunks empty array, and we'll say tokens child pause plus one, right? And then I feel like this is brilliant code that is nevertheless not anywhere close to working, but we'll see. So our issue here is that this is token is a string, but I think that we can effectively trust that it will be an opening brace because we've just checked that they're both opening braces, so good enough for me. Right, and so we then are going to kind of drill in. So we're going to advance the next character, which is also an opening brace. And then ultimately, when we're done here, we're going to say ast dot chunks dot push child, right? And hopefully it will, recurse and kind of drill down. Maybe unexpected state. We'll see. We'll almost definitely hit that now that I've written that. But right. But let's just think. So at the very start, tokens is the whole line. Position is 0. AST is empty, and so we come into it, and this is false because, like, if we consider, like this example, the first two characters are opening square brace and opening parenthesis. So this is not true. This one is true, right? And so we're going to, let's see. We're going to, oh, you know what's interesting? So, right, so here we create our first child that we're going to push into the root node. So it'll have an opening brace of opening square bracket, and it'll have no chunks yet. But then its first chunk hopefully will be the one beginning with the parenthesis, and so we'll kind of drill in. I think I'm going to go ahead and delete everything but the first line, which I think is valid. Like if we kind of do this, like, so like here's the inner pair. Oh, interesting. Is this valid? Because we reach a point now where, hold on, let's go back and read this for a sec. So we've got one or more chunks on each line, and chunks contain 0 or more other chunks. Adjacent chunks are not separated by any delimiter. Oh, chunks contain 0 or more other chunks. Right. And so what does that mean? So like this is sort of, that's a chunk, and then I guess this is closing that chunk, and then that's another chunk, and that goes in, and that goes in, and that stops there, and that goes there. And this is incomplete because it should keep closing things and it doesn't. Okay. So hold on, I've got this idea of invalid closing braces where the only thing that would be wrong is if we had an unexpected closing brace. And so here we do have a closing brace, but it's actually okay because we have another closing brace here. How do we find invalid closing brace? Because like here we have, we have a closing brace followed by, or preceded by another closing brace. So that's, I think, fine. God, sorry. I think that I might be barking up a crazy tree and struggling to actually write this code. I don't write parsers that much, you know? I feel like the sort of efficient way to do this kind of thing is to just like, I don't know, do like a simple count of like, there must be like such a simpler way to model this that doesn't build an AST. Nevertheless, I kind of want to plow ahead and just see, how far I can get with this direction, and I haven't yet lived to regret it. My official cutoff is like around 1:30. Hopefully I finish this thing, and if not, I don't know, maybe I just stop or go to bed or push through and regret it. One of those options. Anyway, let's not despair. Just think through what our scenarios are, right? So if we look at this example, we come in, the important thing to note is that there can be, this chunk does include two chunks, and one of them also includes a chunk, and that's totally fine. There can be multiple siblings. It's quite a bit like HTML, right? Imagine this is a div, and it has two more divs, and then this div has another div nested inside of it. That's all fine. Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's just keep figuring out if this is going to work. Probably not. All right, whatever. Let's try to make this work and then stop despairing. Well, okay, but the important thing is that okay, an empty pair is, I guess, a special case, because then there really are no children. And so if there are no children, then we just want to make a chunk and get out of there. And I guess advance the position by 2. But if they're both opening braces, then actually, here's an interesting thought. So imagine, so we have our token. We kind of want to scan all the way to the next close. No, we don't want to scan to the next closing one. So we start with this, and it has another closing square bracket here. But that is actually not interesting to us because that closes this one, not this one. Okay, hold on. Sorry. I was trying to think if maybe we could do something clever or something, but I think we already are. We just got to see it through. Right, so we've got this. So if it is an empty pair, then we just want to record the chunk and we're done. If the chunk with no children, if they're both opening braces, then we need to recurse. And if it is an invalid closing brace, let's actually go look at one of the invalid examples. So this is a legal chunk that contains no other chunks. These are also valid. This is invalid because it's closing incorrectly. This is also closing incorrectly. And so we got to make sure that we have a general interpretation of invalid closing braces. So this is not really sufficient, right? Because if we look here, this one is invalid because we are not expecting a closing angle bracket, but it wouldn't catch it because the preceding token is not an opening angle bracket. And so, sorry, I keep trying to do something different. So So what do we want to do? I feel like these first two conditions, I feel pretty good about them. Maybe this is overly simplistic, or overly specific, and we could have a more general thing, like so like we know that let's say this is the opening square bracket. We know that we want to recurse until we close that particular square bracket, right? And so I think, let's see. All right, so I think I'm gonna comment this out for a sec, and maybe we come back to it. But this API feels a little bit off. So like if we come back here, we have this AST, which which looks like this. And imagine if instead of parse chunks we said something like let first token equal, I don't know, let token equals token 0, assert opening brace token, maybe. If is opening brace token and I guess this is even a my syntax error, right? I guess let's do regular. Throw new error. Unexpected opening token got token. Let's do this as one of these guys. Okay. Right, so then we can say maybe token 0, and then let token opening brace equals token 0. Great. And so then we can basically say like find children, and find children for find child chunks. I'm not sure the right name here, for tokens and AST and 0. Right, and I guess this isn't hugely different, but the important thing is that let's see. So like, I guess here's the important difference. We'll also pass in token, right? So if we do that, let's also just print out the AST here. So what's this? What's the issue here? Can't find name with start opening brace. Syntax error. Okay. I feel like I just fixed that, but no. I const as well. Okay, great. Okay. Pardon me. That was a sneeze. 36% battery. Scary, scary, scary. All right. Const find child chunks equals token opening brace. And I guess it also should have AST. And it should also have position number. And that's it, right? And so we're getting, it's similar, right? But we have now the ability to sort of scan until we, like we can scan for children. So like if we encounter an opening brace, then great, we'll scan for children of that. And if we encounter a closing brace, we can determine, okay, does that close me? And if so, we're done. And we can return. And if it doesn't close me, then we can throw the syntax error. So I think this feels like maybe we're heading in the right direction. Right, so let's say let next token equals tokens pos plus 1. And then, what's this? Okay. Okay, I'm missing one thing. So also tokens, string array. Okay. Now, what did I just say? So we'll say, let me just write out the plans. Basically, if it's another opening brace, recurse. If it's an unexpected closing brace, throw error. If it's an expected closing brace, return. And some point we need to modify the AST, which is not represented here, but let's just go by this. So is opening brace next token recurse, else if is closing brace and not closes token next token. Does this actually make sense? Because like the next token is not necessarily like we need to be able to we need to be able to deal with the problem that something can be closed by something high up. So like when we get to, and like we're kind of dealing with it here where we're saying like okay, yeah, this actually might work. So let's not panic. I think this might actually work. So let's Right, so we'll say closes. I feel like this is not actually. I feel like neither of these are super useful. So let's just try writing a closes function. So closes equals token string, really a string, b string, boolean, maybe empty pair is actually the same thing as closes. So let's just call this closes, actually. I think that looks great. Perfect. All right, so if, what's the issue? Did I just define this? Cannot find closes. Did you mean class? No, class is supposed to be closes. Okay, great. So this is where we say throw new my syntax error, and we'll say, what is this? Yeah, next token. Great, as closing brace, because we just checked that. So expect the closing brace throw, if it's okay, but if it's an expected one, then we're happy about this. And so else if, I guess it's similar to this. We'll say else if is closing brace and closes, then we are happy and we say cool. I'm not sure what we do then. And so let's think about the recursing bit. This is probably the most interesting part. So we've got, I mean, essentially we want to do something along the lines of find child chunks for next token and tokens and something and pause plus one. And I mean, I guess this is kind of the interesting thing. So we'll say let right, so we now are I feel like we probably don't want to. I think we probably do want to do some kind of return values matter situation, like also, so let's think about it. On the first call, token is opening square bracket, tokens is the whole thing, AST is the root AST, and then position is 0. And so then we get 1, or next token is the opening parenthesis. It is an opening brace, and so we want to, well, first of all, we want to create a yeah, we want to say let chunk, right? So we're finding the child chunks. Of find child chunks from 0. Right, so here we're passing in this AST that has no chunks. We're saying fill this up, starting at 0. And then separately, we want to do the same thing with the parenthesis, and just say take everything from the parenthesis on, and as soon as you kind of like finish up a yeah, sorry, I'm like really not having fun. I'm not having fun. I'm probably gonna stop here. I should probably stop. It's like 1 a.m. I'm gonna take like a little mental break and just look at something else. I think I'm gonna put this into a scratch pad and start over. Sometimes I feel like that's actually wise when you're getting a little bit lost. So I'm gonna delete all this stuff. Maybe we'll reference the scratch pad. But I feel like we've gone in the weeds, and I don't know if I want that. All right, so we've got this stuff. Still seems good. We just need, or actually, scratch pad. This seems good too. I think I'll keep that. Scratch pad, validate line. Well, yeah, that's where it kind of goes off the rails, but okay, so let's just try again, right? So we've got this input. Actually, it's kind of helpful to see it all broken out like that. Let's do that again. All right, thank you. We want to do what again? What are we even trying to do here? We want to scan. Right, so we'll just say for let I equal 0, I less than let tokens equals line dot split I plus plus, and in here maybe we'll return valid false with invalid character foo. What's the problem? Okay. Tell me. Feel like invalid character closing brace. Oh, we don't. Okay. Great. What's the problem now? feel like this is one of the closing brace values now. Oh, it's supposed to be first invalid character. Okay, great. Right, so, I mean, basically, what we want to do is just say, let legal next character equals, and like maybe maintain some set of like things that would be okay to see at this moment, right? So at any point it's okay to see an opening brace, right? So we'll say let token equals tokens I if is opening brace token. Cool. Definitely cool. And then that means that it is okay to see the corresponding closing brace. Right, so we'll say maybe we'll say let last open brace equals token, and else if is closing brace token, and I guess we'll say else throw new error, right? Can do this. Seems fine to me. Is opening brace, is closing brace. Let's bring that back. Bring back those bad boys. All right. Opening brace or undefined. Right. Great. So if it's a closing brace, then we need to check, is it an expected closing brace? Oh, actually, okay. Okay, I think I'm remembering how you're supposed to do this kind of thing. So we'll say let stack of opening brace arrays is this. Then we'll say stack.push last open brace as opening, or sorry, stack.push token as opening brace. Right, so if it's a closing brace, then we want to just look at the last item in the stack. So then we'll say if closes, and we'll say stack.length -1, and token else. Right, so then if it does close it, then we'll just say stack.pop, and otherwise we'll say I guess this. Token as closing brace. And then Okay, so how close are we? Well, I don't want to be in the scratch bed. Hold on, I'm going to go back. Hold on. Did I just edit the wrong file? Day 10 main. Okay, now here we go. Alright. What's the issue here? Validation result does not accept type valid true. So interesting. I thought that this would take care of this for me. Right, because the validation result is like one of these two things, valid true or valid false. Do I need a comma? No. So if it is not valid, then this should be here. And, well, we'll see. Interesting. This seemingly has no problems. So that is valid. Interesting. So let's go back to this for a sec. Just see, does this run? 26397. That is the right answer. So I think that I overcomplicated this thinking about the part 2 that will come. And I do regret that. So anyway, life is too short to have regrets, right? But let's just see if that actually works before I start waxing. Alright, great. So that's star 1. Way overcomplicated on the first approach. I mean, this is still kind of complicated, but it's not that bad. Not sure what the problem is there, given that it does compile. I'm going to ignore it, though. And let's read star 2. Might still be able to get out of here before 1:30, although not feeling super optimistic. Now discard the corrupted lines. Remaining lines are incomplete. Complete lines don't have any incorrect characters. Instead, they're missing some closing characters at the end of the line. To repair the navigation, you must figure out the sequence of closing characters that complete all open chunks of the line. You can only use closing characters, and you must add them in the correct order so that only legal pairs are formed and all chunks end up closed. Did you know that autocomplete tools also have contests? It's true. The score is determined by considering the completion string character by character. Then for each character, multiply the total number by 5. All right. Well, I guess we have to figure out these completion strings, and then we'll figure out how to score them after. Okay. So this is a score, I guess. So we'll say star 2 score, and for the ones that are valid, so we'll say if not result valid, then it's not valid and we don't really care about it, but here it is valid. And skip. And so then after that, what we want to do is say let completion string equals completion string for line, and then how about so score 4 I'm going to rename to error score 4. My battery is low, so I should plug in. Ooh. I am reclined on the couch, but I guess now I should sit up so I can plug in. Actually, no, my wire reaches all the way back. Ooh, lean it back again. Yeah, anyway, I only did that because now I can add another function called, I don't know, const completion score for completion string number return -1. We'll come back to that. Right, so then we can say score plus equals completion score for completion string. Right, so what's the problem? I always do this. I always forget to assign this to a variable. So it's just saying, oh, we cannot find name completion string for. Oh, that's, I just have to write that as well. Okay, const completion string for line string return string, and then cannot find name completion string for. Didn't I just add this? Oh yeah, still a problem. Okay, great. So now what? I guess we can probably do something similar to this. So I think I'm going to start by just copying this, right? So we can assume that this is a, oh wait, no, this goes here. We can assume that this one is valid. We already validated it, so we're kind of just going to do a similar thing. Right, and so now return, in this case I think we can say throw new error, invalid line should, don't really care about that. Right, so ultimately we want to do something like, I don't know, let ret equals that, and maybe return ret.join. Right, and so what are we doing here? So we're going to do all this, and why don't we then just print out console log stack, because I think from the stack we can figure out, okay, ret, let's say this is strings, right, it's like if this is our day 10 input, let's undo, right, so if this is our stack, then what do we know, right? Like we know, well, let's do it like this. Right, like we basically just know that we want to close all of this. We kind of just want to reverse this, I guess. Right, so honestly, maybe that's literally the answer. It's just like return stack.join reverse. And what's the problem? Does not exist in type string. Oh, okay, so well, reverse, right, reverse, sorry, reverse doesn't work. So, okay, hold on. So, yeah, sorry, I thought reverse is just going to do something magical, but we really want to flip all of these, right? So I think what we want to do is more like return stack map opening brace closing brace for opening brace reverse join, right? Something like that. So if we, yeah, I think that'll work. And so let's just go define closing brace for, which I don't think we have here. Right, so if we say const closing brace for opening brace returns closing brace we'll say if opening brace equals return that, else if opening brace equal that, return that. Probably a better way to write this, but I think, you know, whatever. What's my problem? Okay. Else throw new error. Huh? Okay. Let's see what we got. So, console log input 1. Okay. Oh, interesting. Wait, so console log completion string. So actually, I didn't yet do the logic for scoring. So I guess like the question is this the correct? I honestly think it is, right? Like this seems good to me. Maybe it's worth actually like looking at it and checking, but it kind of seems right to me. At like a very first glance. Right. Right, so we get, if we kind of bring in the completion string, does that actually seem right? So it's at that level. There we go. Oh yeah. I mean, so far so good, right? I mean, beautiful. Oh my god, so good. All right, this is perfect. It's perfect. I should have done the simple thing earlier, but you live and you learn. All right, great. So let's write our scoring function and then get the hell out of here in the next 15 seconds. Just kidding. Next 10 minutes. All right. The completion string character by character, start with a total score of 0. Then for each character, multiply the total score by 5, and then increase. Okay, sure. Completion string dot split dot reduce action brace 0 return ack and sorry, what do we do? For each character, multiply the total score by 5 and then increase the total score by the point value. Okay. Return ack times 5 plus value for brace, and we'll say if brace equal Let value for brace equals 1, else if brace equal square bracket, value for brace equals 2, else if brace equal angle bracket, okay, how are we doing? All right, so wait, sorting all of the scores and taking the middle score? Okay, cool. So hold on. Okay. So this isn't score plus equals, it's scores equals empty array, and we say score dot push, right? And then we say for scores, then we say scores dot sort a minus b, and then console log scores, I guess. Let's just start there. And so we get 288957, which is correct for the test. So, I mean, I guess, how do we find the middle one? It's just console log star2 scores dot length divided by 2. I don't know, math.floor, something like this. Yeah. Cool. I think that looks right. So let's try it with the big input. Do I still have it? Okay. I mean, let's see. It didn't crash. All right. That was a journey. That was a challenge and a journey. And I ultimately feel like this was, I should have just thought more at the beginning, probably. Yeah, but you know, what can you do? You can live and learn. I don't love that this is unhappy, but TypeScript itself is happy, so whatever. Remove scratchpad. Forget that ever existed. There's no evidence of it ever existing. I'm good at talking to myself. No one's watching this very long video, but if you are, write a comment, say hello, and good night.